Welcome to National Pension Partners, where retirement planning meets peace of mind. Today, we're diving into the 412(e)(3 plan, also known as a fully insured pension plan. This isn't just any retirement plan. It's the gold standard for stability and guaranteed benefits. How does it work? Simple. It's funded exclusively by life insurance and annuity contracts. This means no market risks, no actuarial assumptions, just ironclad guarantees. Think of it like this. You're a small business owner who hates surprises. The 412(e)(3 plan gives you predictable, stable contributions every year. Your future benefits are backed by insurance contracts, so you know exactly what you're getting. No guesswork, no headaches. But there's more. These plans are designed to maximize your contributions and offer significant tax advantages. And with National Pension Partners, you're not just getting a plan, you're getting a team of experts, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, all dedicated to making your retirement as secure as possible. We provide personalized consulting, ensuring that your plan is tailored to your specific needs. Best part, initial consultations and proposals are absolutely free. $0, zero commitment. So if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. With the 412(e)(3 plan, your future is in safe hands. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. Perfect for small business owners who like their finances as predictable as Monday mornings. Stable contributions, ironclad guarantees, and serious tax advantages. It's the trifecta of financial security. And with National Pension Partners, you get a team of brainiacs, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, ensuring your retirement is as secure as Fort Knox. Oh, did we mention the free consultations? That's right. You get a personalized expert proposal with $0 down. So, if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. Because when it comes to your future, boring is the new exciting. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. For more details, check out National Pension Partners at nationalpensions.com. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Economics with the Honorable David M. Walker, the former Comptroller General of the United States. And today we have a very important topic. It deals with, of course, the shutdown. But it's not only the shutdown we're looking at as healthcare cost. Do they correlate? If we reopen the government, do we get our healthcare taken care of? How does healthcare cost relate to the government shutdown? So with that, we're going to bring in the Honorable David M. Walker, the former Comptroller General of the United States, to ask them this very important question. David, this is a thing that I need a little more education on. According to the Democrats, they're shutting down the government because of healthcare costs. Is there any correlation at all between the government shutdown and healthcare costs? So if we reopen the government, the healthcare costs will go down. If we don't reopen it, it'll go up. Where's the correlation? Or is this just politics as usual? It gives a platform to speak about, and there is no correlation. So just want to know more. Is there a correlation, or is this political garbage? So I'll put that hand grenade in your hand, Mr. Walker, and see what you say.
Well, this is day 20 of the U.S. federal government shutdown. And as I've said many times before, shutdowns are stupid, never happen. They result in a significant decline in productivity and customer service. They result in increased cost, not decreased cost. And furthermore, they end up further reducing public trust and confidence in government. With regard to the correlation of healthcare to the current shutdown, it's primarily political. And here's what it relates to. in July of this year, the Congress passed, largely on a party line vote, the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Now, this is another example of false advertising in politics, just as the Inflation Reduction Act and the Affordable Care Act were false advertising. They end up coming up with, a name that's catchy, that is positive, but when you end up lifting the hood, as Ross Perot would say, and looking underneath, there are things in there that are troubling, and the bill is not necessarily as advertised. In the case of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, it resolved what final funding would be for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2025. And in that, it included significant reductions in spending for Medicaid and certain other areas, allegedly due to fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement, and also not paying for healthcare costs associated with illegal immigrants. The Democrats didn't like that. They got it crammed down. It couldn't be filibustered in the Senate because it was part of budget reconciliation. So all you needed is a simple majority vote, which the Republicans were able to achieve. And now we come to the end of fiscal 2025, again, September 30. The House had passed a continuing resolution that said, let's fund the government at the same amount as was approved in 2025. And the Democrats balked. Historically, people have not balked at a clean CR. They have balked in circumstances when, people have tried to attach policy issues to a continuing resolution in an effort to try to achieve something associated with a must-pass piece of legislation that otherwise they couldn't achieve through the regular legislative order. But in this case, largely in my view, because the base of the Democratic Party, which is well left of the center of the country, was upset that the Democrats had not been challenging Trump enough. And therefore, the Democrats took a stand based on three issues. Number one, we have certain temporary, and I underline the word temporary, tax subsidies that are set to expire on December 31st, 2025, related to the Affordable Care Act, which were put in place to help people during COVID. They were supposed to be temporary. They were supposed to expire when COVID was over. The COVID pandemic was declared as being over by the federal government in May of 2022, and here we are in October of 2025, and people want to extend those temporary subsidies. Those temporary subsidies, the subsidy is supposed to expire on December 31, in other words, at the end of the year. Those temporary subsidies go to people, including people making over 400% of the poverty level. Just another example of the federal government has promised too big, promised too much, subsidized too many, lost control of the budget, and it's out of control. The second thing that they're complaining about is they don't like the cuts that were included in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And the third thing that they're complaining about is they don't like the fact that the president is pushing the envelope in trying to rescind spending that Congress has approved, through pocket rescissions. My view, there ought to be a compromise on the temporary subsidies. They ought to extend it 18 to 24 months, but lower the eligibility cap. We're subsidizing way too many people. They should lower the eligibility cap and use the next year and a half to 2 years to get past the midterm elections and actually try to pass some substantive healthcare legislation, because our current healthcare system is way too expensive, doesn't generate the results that we need, is not affordable, is not sustainable in its present form. And secondly, the Democrats aren't going to win on the issue associated with Medicare, fraud, waste, and abuse. And thirdly, I actually agree with the Democrats that the administration is trying to push the envelope too far with regard to pocket rescissions. And we may see GAO having to sue the administration over that, which ultimately would have to get decided by the Supreme Court. As you know, I led GAO for 10 years and was put in the unfortunate position of having to sue Vice President Cheney over his unwillingness to cooperate over work dealing with the National Energy Policy Development Group. But I must say, we had excellent relations with OMB and never had to do anything with regard to their abuse of rescissions or any other type of activity during my tenure. So it's a sad situation. OMB leadership won't talk to GAO leadership. That situation needs to end. So the bottom line is that now that the No Kings protests are over with, where millions of people gathered around the country to protest Trump and Trump's policies, maybe cooler heads will prevail over the next days and weeks, and we can get the government back open. Because, as I said, shutdowns are stupid. And I think the Democrats are responsible for this shutdown. There's no question in my mind. At the same point in time, the Republicans have some exposure with regard to how the issue of the ACA subsidies gets resolved. And that's why I think coming up with a compromise for that, which is about $30 billion a year in cost versus the Medicaid and other healthcare provisions, which is over $100 billion a year in additional cost, is the prudent and most appropriate way to proceed.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with your analysis, David. And the thing is, what I like about you is you're straight on, independent, and you stop listening to the Democratic Republican garbage that's out there. But with that, we have our own set of wheels we have to look at. So we're going to bring in Chris Greco, coming in from the Raleigh-Durham area. We're going to bring in our whole crew here. We also have Dr. Sharif, who's coming in from Bangladesh. We'll bring in Sasha Starr from Canada, Mark Lee from the Raleigh-Durham area, and of course, Jatobi from the Raleigh-Durham area. But we will start with Chris, since you're back, and then we'll get to you, Mark, next. What's this healthcare correlation between healthcare and the government shutdown? I think it's important that they bring this healthcare thing up. I'm agreeing with David, but also, do they really want to keep the government shut down? I think they're independent issues, but they do need to bring this to the people's attention. What are your thoughts, Mr. Greco, head of our data show?
So, well, first of all, Mr. Walker, I am honored. I did not realize, and this is, when you have data out there, you can grab it, that you were the one to change the name of the Government Accounting Office to the Government Accountability Office. So I am, I bow to your honor here. I mean, that's tremendous. I never understood why they called it Government Accounting Office, other than, it was so limiting in their ability to do that. And then all of a sudden it was accountability, and it made so much more sense on their reports and stuff that I had read when I was in the government, both military and civilian. So I really, really appreciate you doing that.
Well, Chris, thanks for that. But let me clarify one thing. We used to be called the General Accounting Office. All right. And then we went to the Government Accountability Office, and it took an act of Congress to get that done. And we did not spend one plug nickel until after Congress passed the name change. And I might note that, unfortunately, the Defense Department is spending a bunch of money trying to rebrand the Department of Defense when only Congress can authorize a change in name. And right. So that's a very different situation. But thank you.
Yes, it is. Well, and to say, first of all, I want to ask a question, Mr. Walker. Well, first, the War Office versus Department of Defense and all that horse poop. Bottom line is this. I told my daughter, she's in the Air Force. I said, if I were, and I hate to say it, if I were king, but if I were in charge, here's what I would do. I'd take all those Department of Defense letterhead and whatever else, and I would put it in storage, because damn well the minute this guy is out of office, they're going to go right back to the Department of Defense, and they're going to have to redo all the different letterhead stuff. So just bring that out of storage and shove it back into the main area, rather than throwing them away or do whatever they're going to do with them. But that's my deal. But I think the important part is to say, were there any government shutdowns before 1974? And the answer to that is no. There were no government shutdown before 1974. What happened in 1974? Well, the Congress decided that they were going to put a HR 7130, which is the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974, when they changed from July to June to October to September, because I feel, this is my, and maybe you know more about this than I do, Mr. Walker, and please chime in. I think Congress couldn't get their budget done, and rather than giving up their summer vacation, they went ahead and said, if we pass this bill, we get 3 more months. And I took a look at the Department of Defense's and they named it Budget Year 7T, as in Tango. And then what happened is that they had to do a budget for that July to June, and then June to October they had to do another budget, and then they had to do another budget October to the next September. So I think this all goes down to this: Congress is not responsible, and it's interesting to sit back and go, if you took away their pay, if you said, okay, every time you have a government shutdown, you get paid nothing, $0, 0 cents, Senate and House. Okay. I guarantee you they would sit back and go, geez, we're not going to get any money during this time period. Maybe we ought to work on weekends and get the freaking thing done.
Well,
my opinion.
Let me give you a few facts and tell you what I think needs to be done. Okay. First, there's only one express and enumerated responsibility that the Congress is supposed to do every year under the Constitution of the United States, and that is to pass all the appropriations bills and fund the government. The last time they did that for all the appropriations bills on time was 1996. During my lifetime, and I'm 74, although my doctor tells me I'm 54. I hope she's right. Okay. They've only done it 4 times in my lifetime, which I've said many times is an F-. I believe the answer is as follows. I believe that if Congress does not pass all of the appropriations bills by the end of the fiscal year, then whatever they haven't passed, it's an automatic continuing resolution. They have to stay in session 7 days a week until they pass them all. They do not get paid while they're in session, and they receive no retroactive pay. Now, as you know, I'm a big advocate for the need for a federal fiscal responsibility amendment under Article 5, okay? And the primary thing I want to do with that is to establish a credit card limit for the federal government on debt to GDP, all right? But there are other things that we could do as part of that, all right? And this is one of the things that we could do as part of that, because it clearly deals with fiscal responsibility. And it would take a constitutional amendment because of the 27th Amendment to the Constitution, which says you can't cut congressional pay. You can't adjust congressional pay in a way that affects the current Congress. It has to be delayed to the next Congress. So, I think we're in agreement, but I think it needs to be an integral part of a federal fiscal responsibility amendment. Congress is delinquent in calling such a convention, which I made public on Constitution Day this last month. We had enough applications as far back as 79 and as recent as 2017. It's time to call it. And I would argue they should call it for Constitution Day 2026, our 250th anniversary year.
Okay. We'll go to Mark Lee. He had a question, so let's see what he's got.
It wasn't so much a question; it was actually a compliment, and all along those lines, because we had a interview on World Edition, and they actually mentioned a agency that you are part of, an organization that you are part of and everything, David. So I actually gave you credit for being one of the founders, even though that may not be correct and everything like that. But Sam Daly Harris, who wrote a book called Reclaiming Our Democracy, which is about transformational advocacy, he actually mentioned the Problem Solving Caucus. So I know that that has been something that you have talked about quite often, and I know that you are involved with it all along those lines. But I couldn't remember whether you were a founding member or whether you're just a supporter of the Problem Solving Caucus. But
No.
he did mention the Problem Solving Caucus.
Well, let me clarify. I am one of the national co-founders of a group called No Labels,
Right.
which was founded in 2010, which is for Democrats, Republicans, independents who believe our system is broken, who want to promote bipartisan action on large, known, and growing problems. In fact, I was in New Hampshire and did grassroots meetings for No Labels on Friday and Saturday. I expect I'm going to be doing a lot more of that in various forms as we look forward. The Problem Solvers Caucus is a bipartisan official caucus in the House of Representatives. It was formed several years ago. No Labels was the driving force behind forming it. It has an equal number of Democrats and Republicans. They've made a difference on past legislation, and hopefully they will make a difference going forward on new legislation. One of the things that I really want them to get more engaged with is the need for a statutory fiscal commission and for Congress to call this Article 5 convention. They believe that the fiscal issue is an important issue, but we need to start doing something about it.
We're going to go to Steve Rao. I hear that he is running right now for county commissioner, but I heard a faint possibility he might be running for Congress. If so, we'll have some money for him from the Pod TV network, but that's it's not me. Yes, Steve.
First of all, I want to wish everyone a happy Diwali, and I'm wearing my Modi vest, which is I'm just wearing as Diwali today, and I want to wish everyone a happy Diwali, which is an Indian festival that celebrates light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. And we may need some of that part of the Diwali message in the U.S. Congress. But it's my, thank you so much, and I think it's really good to really celebrate light, because I think there's a lot of people out there afraid of instability. Campaign's going really well. David Walker is actually a supporter of mine, but there could be a new congressional seat in the 4th, so we don't know what's going to happen. But hey, it's we're moving the ball down the field. Things are going really well. The irony is that the district I'm running for is 2 congressional districts. 1.2 million people, the largest county in the state. So, it's going to be an interesting journey. But I'm working hard, campaigning really hard, and feeling very, very confident. So, thank you for your belief in me. And hey, I'm a media guy too. So, like Trump, I'm using the media waves as well to differentiate. I'm not as crazy as the president, but I do think we have to give Trump credit that he was able to really leverage his media presence as well, which I think is important. So, but back to the issue at hand, David. I'm sorry I came in a little late. So, what's going to happen now to get us to a deal? I mean, the government can't be shut down forever. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think what has to happen is there needs to be an agreement with regard to a temporary extension of the ACA tax credits, which were supposed to be temporary. They were supposed to only be for COVID. COVID was declared over, meaning the pandemic, in May of 2022, and here we are, October of 2025. I think a reasonable resolution of it would be to extend it 1.5 to 2 years, but to lower the eligibility cap. Too many people are eligible for these subsidies, people making well over 400% of the poverty level. That doesn't make any sense. And then that gives you time to be able to make some meaningful healthcare reforms and get you past the midterm election. By the way, I thought Diwali was tomorrow. Am I off a day? But I do like what you're wearing. It looks nice.
It starts today, but it goes for 10 days. So you're not off the mark, but I got all my messages. Yeah.
Maybe it's a difference in time zones. The time zone in India is different than the time zone here, obviously.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it's a really great time. Lots of fireworks, lots of good food, sweets. And we've got municipal elections here, but it's a good time. And but anyway, thank you for that answer. And I just tell you, it's and I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm just going to give you my political perspective, even though this is about economics. But to me, I don't understand why, like CNN, for example, when they host a town hall in the government shutdown, why they're putting Bernie Sanders and AOC on. I mean, think about it. I mean, you're trying to get the independents and the moderates to come your way, and then they put Bernie on there, and my 20-year-old son says, "Dad, he's looking way older than my own grandfather, and what the hell is he doing on TV?"
Well, we have our own progressive wing here on the Pod TV network, as you well know, Steve. And speaking of which, we have a progressive Jatovi who will give his opinion. And don't hold back.
I just think it's time for new blood, guys. I think Bernie's had his time, and if the Democrats are going to win the White House back, I think they bring on a Bashir, bring on a Shapiro, bring on a Cory Booker. I mean, why is CNN only reverting to Bernie Sanders and AOC as the voice of the Democratic Party? Why is that?
And in fairness, we want to hear from Jatovi. Jatovi doesn't look anything like Bernie. Okay.
Right. Okay, Jatovi, why are they
feel the burn? Feel the burn.
They're sticking with AOC and BS when they have a lot of good other people they could bring up, including Wes Moore from Maryland, who I think would be a great candidate. Go on.
So, I guess I'll speak for the progressive wing, even though I'm not in the progressive wing, because I don't fall into any category. So the reason they pull up Bernie and AOC is because they're actually going across the country right now touring. So the idea that you wouldn't bring up a group that's actually touring across the country and bringing in big crowds to a network to actually get ratings, that wouldn't make any sense. Because Shapiro's not bouncing around to different towns, doing different town halls across the country. Wes Moore's not doing that. So when you're asking the question of why are they bringing up these people, it's because this is what they're doing right now. So it's just an obvious answer of just putting them on because of the fact they're wanting the ratings. And don't get me wrong, people want new blood, as you're asking for, Steve. But the thing is, right now, when you have a group that's pulling in millions of people on their tours, it would just be bad business not to put them on TV. That's just a smart move on their part to say, hey, we're just trying to do this town hall. We're going to bank on what they're doing across the country and hopefully get a viewership. So that's why they put them on. It has nothing to do with the fact that, oh my goodness, we're trying to make them the voice of, no, they've actually got a following, and it's smart business.
I think there's two issues.
We haven't had a
hold on. I think there's two issues. One, I think Jatovi's right with regard to the short term. God knows CNN needs ratings, and Bernie and AOC are touring the country. They do appeal to the base, to the left base of the Democratic Party. At the same point in time, I also agree with the prior comment that if the Democrats want to have a chance to win the presidency in 2028, they're going to have a center-left candidate who can win in purple and red states, and that's Bashir or Shapiro. It's not the governors of Illinois or California or some of those states that, quite frankly, have very serious financial and competitiveness problems.
Yep.
But just to finish my point on this, another reason why they put Bernie on as well as AOC is because right now the one who has the best message around healthcare are those two. And what's the fight right now? Healthcare. You put Shapiro on, you're going to get you don't have that trust that you do with Bernie Sanders on the healthcare issue. And right now, if you look at all the polls, which Rick can pull up as well, the Democrat Party polls better on healthcare issues, and that deals with independence. And if you're talking about trying to convince independents to your side on the healthcare issue, and it's only the healthcare issue, that's who, yes, you're going to put on, because again, that's who's actually convincing some Republicans that, hey, they actually have a good message on healthcare. So again, it's a smart business play, but that actually wasn't what I was going to really push on. There are also some other things that I think we discussed that we skipped over, glossing over that the government shutdowns, for example. saying that before 1974, but we haven't even talked about the two longest shutdowns are about to be up under the current president here, Donald Trump. And also, Donald Trump in his first term had two government shutdowns. So when we look at who has been ineffective in that fashion, we do have to point out that the government shutdown has been up under this president who has said that it falls upon the actual president on that. And then, needless to say, when we're talking about shutdowns, Dave, you also said that you believe it's a Democrat shutdown based on the three reasons. However, the Republican Party does not have 60 votes, meaning the Republican Party needs to negotiate, just as has happened in prior CRs. So just blaming it on one party, saying, hey, it's all the Democrats or it's only the Democrats, is incorrect. It's actually a talking point more so than the middle of the road.
Yeah, let me respond. First, there have been 11 shutdowns. You are correct. There were two during Trump's first term, including the longest one of 35 days. We'll see how long this happens. There has never been a shutdown for a clean CR. Never. Okay. Now we can debate whether or not
it's not a clean CR.
We can debate whether or not we should consider this a clean CR or not. You and I don't agree on that. I believe it is. The Democrats don't believe it is. Okay. But understand this. The only thing the president can do officially is to either veto or sign the bill. Now, he can express his opinion, all right? And he has influence, there's no question, but Congress has the responsibility for funding. That's very clear under the Constitution.
But Dave,
and hold on. Let's go by the numbers, okay? All but one Republican have voted for this, and all but 3 Democrats have voted against it.
Okay, Dave, let's go to the numbers.
I got a lot. I just want to say, Chris Greco, good seeing you. Thanks.
Let me finish my point. If the Republican Party does not have 60 votes, if you're talking about numbers, that means they have to do as what you are talking about pushing with the party that you have, negotiations and compromise. So if you're saying that they must go straight party line votes, then that is not negotiation. That is the fault of somebody not trying to work together for the American people in a compromise, because all the Democrats don't have the answers. All the Republicans don't have the answers.
And I gave you the compromise.
But Dave
and Thune, hold on, we got to get off of this. And Thune, Thune has said, okay. Thune has said that he will guarantee a vote in the Senate on these temporary subsidies if the government is open. That's good enough. The government.
But I just wanted to finish my point because you were and then I'll get off of this. But again, if you're not going to compromise, if you're just going to promise and if you're going to promise that you will compromise afterwards, how many promises have been broken when the leader of the party, which you say has no power, except for he has some influence, this influential individual is the one who leads the party. He's the one who tells the party what to do. And he said that he would not compromise. So until he compromises, the others will not. So how can you trust that? And on top of that,
this is enough, Jacoby. This is way too much.
I
think the Democrats will lose that already.
Somebody else get a word in here. So with regard to AOC, some party is going to have to run an attractive presidential candidate eventually. In 2024, we had 2 candidates who look like pounded crap, Biden and Trump. And it bums people out. Harris, pretty attractive, but impossibly compromised by the circumstances that made her the candidate. But you go back, Obama, attractive candidate, Clinton, George W. Bush, all attractive. Frickin' Ronald Reagan, a movie star, JFK, wildly. Eventually, we're going to have some America likes to get behind. a handsome candidate, and it makes for better morale nationally. So
Yeah.
Have a follow-up question for that and everything.
hold on.
We need to get to our
No,
international
Defense
people.
to say, will AOC eventually be that person? I don't know. Is she too liberal? Will Newsom be that person? Is he too compromised from being from California? I don't know. But eventually, you're going to have somebody who isn't old as hell.
But we got some young person we're going to bring up. We're going to bring in Dr. Sharif, who can give us the international perspective in Asia, since they do represent half the population of the world and they don't get a vote.
Yeah, and we need to get to healthcare at some point.
Yes, healthcare.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, many South Asian people, they are also immigrant in USA. Even my family member, they are also immigrant of USA. But I'm very much concerned, like when USA is a superpower and they have world largest economy. And definitely their government is very powerful. Even they have a huge contributions even in South Asia through politics, through business, through empowerment and everything. How come they develop their own policies so weak, especially for healthcare, for educations? Even I was worried when first time I visit USA and I see so much of homeless people. Even it's bigger than Dhaka. I'm really worried about USA. What's your thought?
David, thoughts on the homeless people? They're everywhere when you come to the U.S.
I think you have to analyze what's the nature of the homeless people, right? I mean, a lot of the homeless people have mental challenges. A lot of the homeless people have dependency challenges. A certain percentage of the homeless people are not legal. Okay, but I think the primary issue is issues and dependency issues. We ended up getting rid of a lot of our mental institutions back in the late 60s. If you talk about our healthcare system, we don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. Okay, and it is badly broken. And one of the things that we have to do is that we have to end up stepping back to have a conversation that we've never had before, which I'm a strong advocate before, is what level of universal health care, and I did use the word universal, is appropriate, affordable, and sustainable. And that's what the government ought to focus on. And I would argue that that's preventative wellness and catastrophic care, because we've promised way more than that, both directly and through subsidies. It's not affordable, it's not sustainable, and at the same point in time, when you look at our healthcare outcomes, they're below average for industrialized nations. So we spend a lot more money and we get below average results. The answer is not to throw more money at it, and that's part of the problem with this ACA subsidy. Throwing more money at a system that's badly broken is not the answer. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's go to Bangladesh then.
One economic aspect I just want to add, because if you see Bangladesh is a poor country, right? Compared to USA, definitely. If you see even India, compared to USA, it's not big. It's just growing and they're just taking positions. But my question is that, let's say, what I see, even in California, the world richest people live in California, right? And many homeless people, and they have a lot of problem I see in California. I do not want to, every country has problem. Bangladesh also have a lot of problem. I do not want to criticize USA, but I want to add this point. Let's say in our countries, even in India, for these poor people, every year, all of the peoples, the rich people, we go for zakat, what it called amole salih, like good work. For betterment of the economy, we invest or we pay our 7.5% income for the poor people. I think other religion has same kind of things in the world. Even in India, they follow, it's called it karma jog, right? Do better for the society. Do not ask for the return, right? do better for your countries, do good for your people. I do the same with my World Talent Economic Forum. But I'm astonished. US has so much of rich people, so much of intelligent people. Intellectually, definitely, you have all of the big university. How come you do not add uh, all of the beautiful things from different countries? I think US also can learn this Kormojog or this Amole Sali or this mindfulness, whatever you call, and they can solve their uh, own country's healthcare problem, educational problem. And always, I'm actually feel that their capitalistic attitudes, especially like every time, what is my benefit? How I get money? What is my benefit? How money? It's actually destroy this big economy. I think philosophically, even it's not bad if you can bring this Kormojog or this Amole Sali, or if you can invest, the rich people invest their money for the poor community for healthcare and education.
Let me provide a few facts. Okay, California is a beautiful state, absolutely beautiful. It's got great weather, but California taxes too much, regulates too much. California also is a sanctuary state. There are a number of sanctuary cities in California. California ends up subsidizing illegal immigration by making them eligible for education, by making them eligible for healthcare, by making them eligible for a number of things. So there's a number of reasons that people are leaving California, despite the fact that it is a beautiful state with great weather. Okay. Secondly, in our country, you know, every religion has a concept with regard to giving to others. Okay. And in our country, there are a number of our religions that believe in tithing. And by that, it means you're supposed to give 10% of your income to the church. And the church is then supposed to, provide for those who are truly in need. And they use their judgment on separating the wheat from the chaff between people who are truly in need and then people who just don't want to work and or addicted to drugs and don't want to do anything about it. Okay. Unfortunately, a vast majority of people in the United States don't tithe. We do have a lot of people who are very, very wealthy. Some of those people have made a pledge that they will donate half of their wealth, including a number of billionaires, including my former boss, Pete Peterson, will donate a half of their wealth to charities. But then you have to analyze what's the nature of the charity. A lot of these charities are more political and economic than they are doing good for the less fortunate, if you will. So, there are legitimate issues here that need to be pursued. And the biggest issue is, what's the proper role of the federal government? What's the proper role of state and local government? What's the proper role of the charitable sector? And what's the proper role and responsibility of individuals? And that's something that we've got to engage in. Nick?
We're going to go to Canada first, Sasha Starr, and then Rick Rosner.
Well, I was thinking about when you were discussing Democrats versus Republicans issues and what's happening with shutdown or so on. I was thinking about something that Democrats are in such miserable state right now. They don't have the House or Senate or presidency, Supreme Court. They have nothing really. So regardless what they do, it cannot get any worse for them than it already is. So, and therefore, if you think about this as the, well, anyway, maybe a poker game or maybe something else similar.
Chess match.
Democrats are in beautiful position. They have nothing to lose. As let's say your bankroll in a poker game is $10 and your opponent's is $10 million. I would always play under the circumstances because you can do anything what you want because there is nothing for you to lose and to gain a lot. So in the long run, I think that's what they should do. However, I would also say that maybe Democrats are about to learn something from Republicans. Look at Republican Party. It's a party of real estate developers. Take Trump, take Witkoff, take a lot of these people. They're highly successful. People in America love real estate developers. So try to find Democrats some good, strong real estate developers and get them run. And that's your chance.
We'll get to Rick Rosner, who's going to defend the great state of California.
I'm just going to say, all right, California has more homeless people than any other state, well over 100,000 homeless. As David said, one reason is because it's nice. Other reasons, because it's got a ton of successful people driving up the cost of housing. Also, we've got a ton of drug rehab places. People come here from all across the country to get clean, and then they just get set on the street, and they last 2 weeks, and they fall off the wagon, and then they become crazy homeless people on the street. So we have 3 years, LA, to figure out what to do with our 73,000 homeless people, or we're going to look like crap to the world when we show the Olympics. And we will half-ass it. There needs to be laws. The laws need to be changed where so you can hold people longer than 72 hours against their will. But as it is now, and this is nationwide, you can't in 72 hours for a crazy person. That's as long as you can hold them unless they're completely out of hand. Otherwise, you got to set them loose again. And given our track record, we will half-ass it. We'll come up with some not great solutions that will make our streets somewhat cleaner for the Olympics. And it won't completely solve the problem, but maybe we'll come up with some half solutions.
Yeah. I don't know how they do it in Spain, but since I've been here for a year, I've seen a total of 6 homeless people. They have some law that requires everybody to be in a house, but how they get them off the streets, I don't know. But there's some lessons to be learned here, because in Spain, you can walk. I can see 6 homeless people just walking down the streets in Manhattan. I can walk down all the streets in Spain for a year, and then I'll see 6 in a year.
I can drive you around LA and show you 300 homeless people in an hour. But
yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is there's some lessons to be learned.
One more thing about California. We know how to get people housed. We just don't know how to do it cheaply. It costs an average of $8,000 to get a homeless person into a dwelling. That's way too much.
Yeah. Okay. It's a serious problem, and there's some solutions. They just don't seem to.
From my World Talent, we have some audience. I think they are some have different perspective. They give some feedback as an audience. Anyway, I just want to add one thing. Honorable David Walker, I love to take some action. Always, I love to take actions. Let's say in my World Talent Economic Forum, we are developing a center of excellence. Through Center of Excellence in South Asia, we are solving different kind of complex problem. And I'm happy that many people, let's say they are my audience, they join in these ecosystems. I regularly share all of your things in my classrooms, in my Center of Excellence. So why don't, beside these dialogues, we can collaborate for a Center of Excellence under your supervisions, Honorable David Walker, Nick Palveda, like Global North and Global South Center of Excellence for Economic Model. What you discuss, it's very important. I think we can publish more paper through this process. But secondly, maybe we can develop some concepts, some methods, like how we can modernize, let's say, US economy or Bangladesh economy, or example, African economy. It can be very economically thought-provoking and action-oriented. I believe. Yeah.
You know what I think is very embarrassing? That you come from Bangladesh, which is not a very wealthy country. You go to the United States and you're shocked because of all the homeless people in the U.S. I mean, that is not a good comment on the United States of America.
No. It's not criticized, Mr.
We're going to have the Olympics here. The whole world's going to see all these homeless people.
I think there's a common underlying theme here. The United States has never been very good at learning from history and learning from others. And that needs to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to add for United States, this is the beauty of United States. Let's say China will not allow this kind of open criticism for Chinese communities, for their own country. You are doing. That's why you are the best in this world. India, honestly speaking, I just do all of my work with India. They never allow this kind of criticism inside India, but you are doing. Even Bangladesh, I share these things like learn from American, how they criticize themselves and how they develop themselves. I respect your comments. I respect your openness. And I want to say the world should be like this. And everybody should learn from your communications, your analysis. My students are really, really interested to see you all in person. So hopefully in the future we can organize some conference. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Sharif. Yeah, Jatovi, you're up.
I think the discussion around the homeless and trying to figure out solutions kind of wraps back into the healthcare issue, which I know Dave wanted to get back to. And that's all about our priorities and what we decide to help with and what we decide not to help with. For example, we keep saying that it's expensive to make the subsidies permanent. If we're talking about the healthcare subsidies that are there now, according to the CBO numbers, that's 350 million over 10 years.
Billion.
Oh, I'm sorry, 350 billion. Okay, 350 billion over 10 years. The tax cuts. How much did the tax cuts that were temporary?
Too much.
They were trillion. No. Yeah. They were trillion.
Over a trillion. Yeah.
They were 4.4 some odd trillion. So we fought and we didn't even fight. We were like, okay, yeah, we got to make these tax cuts permanent. It's fine that we make these tax cuts permanent that were 4 trillion. But when we're talking about 350 billion, which makes these healthcare subsidies permanent, which actually and we keep talking about December 31st. It's not December 31st. It's actually November 1st when these healthcare options are being signed up and they actually go jacked up. So we have about a week and a half, and those healthcare options for many people are going skyrocketing because they have no idea of what's happening. And when we talk about December 31st, that's really a misnomer, because if they jump up right now, they've got no real reason to do anything December 31st. So really it's November 1st. That's really when people sign up for their healthcare options right now. But
so
either way,
just saying let it happen, and most of the wrath will fall on the Republicans.
But
also
we're back to the position of trying to find housing for more homeless people, because the health care before the ACA was completely bankrupting people. And now we're getting back to the position of healthcare again, bankrupting people. And we're doing this over 350 billion, which we didn't do anything over the 4 trillion. So it's just our priorities. And until we change our priorities, we're not going to change anything.
Well, you're going to have to get your healthcare cost under control. Now, one thing I did find out here in Spain, the doctors won't like it, but the doctors' salaries are between 80,000 and 120,000, not between 400,000 and 750,000 like there are in the U.S. They keep the healthcare cost contained here in Spain, so it represents like not even 10% of the GDP, where in the United States it's like 20%. Yeah. So until you get your healthcare cost under control, you're going to have a problem. How can you even have universal healthcare, which they have in Spain, but they don't have in the United States?
So how does Spain do it? Does Spain do it by eliminating the middlemen, the brokers who take a ton of money?
Yeah, they take 25%. Basically, I'm sort of in that industry, Rick. They take 25%. So you have to imagine every time you put $1 to your healthcare, 25% will go to administrative cost, insurance companies, and overhead. So if you could eliminate that, then all of a sudden you've just saved 25% right off the bat.
So,
But the only situation I saw which they actually have built-in healthcare cost control is actually Medicare. They have a book this huge on allowable expenses, where private industry, it doesn't even work that way. Private industry is cost plus. What you spend, and the insurance companies can tack on 25% basically, and then you pay the bill. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a disincentive, and Congress doesn't want to address it, just like I don't, because they're conflicted. I'm serious. I'm conflicted. So if I start addressing it the way it should be addressed, I'm going to lose half my clients.
Nick,
Sasha got his name up, his finger up.
Sasha.
You muted, Sasha.
Okay, is it possible to outsource Medicare and all this business to somebody like Ontario Health Insurance Plan? They're very efficient. They're not that great. And at least I would consider doing exactly that.
You know, I
I
was in the government for 35 years, and the one thing and Dave, I know you're going to agree with this, is administrative costs it's not the healthcare costs that are out of control. It's the healthcare administrative costs that are out of control. Those are the things that are going crazy. It's not going to a doctor and getting doctor's care. Right. It's going to a doctor, getting doctor's care, and having to bull crap all the way through the administrative process. I've just come across this stuff where, you sit back and you say, oh, gee, they charge $1,000 for a test, of which they get paid $23.43. Well, no wonder they charge $1,000 for the test. They charge it because they're only getting $23.43 from the insurance company. I mean, the administrative cost is, Medicare Advantage plans is a perfect example of administrative costs being flung over from Medicare, who's supposed to take care of this crap, over to some contractor who may not be the same contractor every year. And let me tell you something, there's no continuity. If you don't have a contractor 1 year to the next, you don't have the same administrative stuff from 1 year to the next. You're going to lose continuity. You lose continuity in medical care. That's a big deal. So, Dave, am I anywhere close to that?
No, there's a lot of truth to that, Chris. I'll give you a personal example. I had a terrible automobile accident last December.
Sorry.
Okay. Fortunately, I'm okay. All right. But the bills still haven't been resolved. This is last December. They still haven't been resolved. I was in the hospital for, let me see for a second. I was in the hospital for about 30 hours one night. Okay. They sent me a bill for $35,000. All right. No interventions, whatever, $35,000. And I'm just waiting for the insurance company to do the cram down. And after they do the cram down, I'm happy to pay them something, but I'm not going to pay them $35,000.
And I think if we did stories on healthcare abuse or healthcare issues like that, you'd see it. My wife had to go to NYU Medical Hospital. She sprained her leg she didn't even spend the night there. She walked in, a couple hours, walked out with a cast, $7,500. Yeah, Toby, what's your thoughts?
So to kind of put a button on all this, which is actually kind of interesting, and if you think about it this way, and it's kind of funny, and thinking about the irony. At first, when we opened the show, there was a complaint from Steve talking about why did they put Bernie Sanders and AOC talking on CNN. Do you realize what we are talking about right now? The complaints from everybody here that are living in the U.S. is about the healthcare system. The individual who's saying that their healthcare system is run well is somebody or people who are living outside of the country. Those actual healthcare, their healthcare is run in that single payer. That single payer is run by a government entity. The government has a hand in it. So we're complaining about a for-profit industry while the others are celebrating a single-payer, not-for-profit industry. And you know who the biggest advocate for single-payer has been in
Feel the burn. Feel the burn.
I'm feeling the burn right now,
Bernie Sanders.
but listen, I'll lose my job if that guy gets elected. So you think it's like I said, I'm conflicted.
You're
So
gonna
we're on our way out here. We'll discuss that later. And thank you for watching Economics with the Honorable David M. Walker. Take care. Bye-bye.